Hey guys, it's Olga. Welcome back to my channel. One of my goals for 2018 is to meal prep more. So today I wanted to share with you an easy meal prep that I've already done a couple of times this year. All of the recipes are vegan, they're made with simple and nourishing ingredients, and they taste amazing. I'm collaborating with Audible on today's video, and I think it's a match made in heaven. I always listen to audiobooks when I meal prep. You can go to audible.com/Fablunch or text Fablunch to 500 to get 30-day free trial and a free audiobook of your choice. Stay tuned until the end of the video because I'm going to share with you which book I've been listening to recently that has got me through all of the chopping that I did in this video. Let's get started. Regardless of what recipes I'm prepping each week, I always make two things: sweet potatoes and quinoa. To me, they are the perfect sides and go well with so many different dishes. Since sweet potatoes take a while to bake, I usually start my meal prep with them. Sweet potatoes are one of my staple foods. They are high in vitamin A, vitamin C, B vitamins, and iron. They have amazing anti-inflammatory properties and are full of essential antioxidants. Plus, they taste yummy and they're really easy to make. A while back, I made a video for how to bake sweet potatoes perfectly every time, so I'm not going to go into details here. I'll just link that video for you in the description and in the top right corner. For this meal prep, I'm making 4 full days worth of food. So I'm baking 4 sweet potatoes and making 4 large servings of quinoa. To cook the quinoa, I add 2 cups of water to a medium saucepan. Then I measure 1 1/4 cup of quinoa and rinse it well. When the water starts to boil, I add the quinoa. Then I cover the pot, reduce the temperature to low, and cook the quinoa for 15 minutes. While the quinoa is cooking, I start on my dinner, the vegetable tagine. And the first thing I do is chop all of the veggies. So I'm dicing half of a red onion, slicing 1 medium carrot into circles. I'm actually so excited for you guys to try this recipe. It's so delicious and flavorful. Next, I'm chopping 1 green pepper and cutting the green beans into 1-inch pieces. You want to end up with about a cup of cut green beans in total. I'm also adding 2 cups of diced mushrooms to my tagine. I bought mushrooms that were already pre-cut, but the pieces were way too big for my liking, so I just broke them into smaller chunks with my hands. Finally, I just grate 1 inch of fresh ginger. By this point, my quinoa was ready, so I removed it from the heat and let it stand covered for about 5 minutes. Then I fluffed it with a fork and let it cool down for a bit before transferring it to a container. To cook the tagine, I heat 1 tablespoon of grapeseed oil over medium heat in a large pot. Then I add diced carrot, green pepper, and red onion and cook them for about 5 minutes. Then I add my grated ginger, 1 garlic clove minced, 2 tablespoons of tomato paste, and give it a good stir. Next, I add all of the spices. So I have cinnamon, cumin, paprika, turmeric, cayenne pepper, salt, and pepper. As always, the measurements and directions for all of the recipes from this video will be on my website at fablunch.com. You can find the direct link to the blog post in the description. Next, I add 2 cups of vegetable broth and give the pot a good scrub with the spatula since the spices sometimes get stuck to the bottom. Then I add my diced mushrooms and green beans. I also like adding chickpeas in this recipe, so I'm rinsing the chickpeas that I removed from the can and adding them to the pot. The chickpeas make this dish more filling and add more protein and fiber. Next, I bring it to a boil, then reduce the heat to low, cover the pot, and cook for about 20 minutes. Meanwhile, I decided to make my zucchini hummus to have as a snack throughout the week. I already have a recipe for it on my channel, check out the description down below for the link. I love hummus, I think everybody does, but because I was already using chickpeas in the tagine, I decided to make my chickpea-free hummus where I basically substitute chickpeas with steamed zucchini. I personally don't digest beans and chickpeas very well when I eat them in large amounts, so this zucchini hummus is a perfect solution for me. To go with the hummus, I cut up some veggies. I had more carrots and green peppers in the fridge, so that's what I used. I tend to eat my hummus with the gluten-free crackers most of the time, but when I already have the veggies cut up and ready to go, I'm more likely to choose them over the crackers. I put the hummus in my small Fablunch container and the veggies in the medium container, and off they go into the fridge. And my snack number 1 is done. My sweet potatoes were ready by this time as well, so I took them out of the oven and let them cool down before I put them in a container. And the vegetable tagine is also ready. It smells absolutely incredible. I wish you could smell it through the screen. The final thing I do is chop some cilantro and add it to the pot, together with juice of half of a lemon and about 2 tablespoons of raisins. I then continue cooking the tagine uncovered for 5 minutes. Then I transfer it to a container to cool down before putting it in the fridge. This recipe makes 4 portions, so you can have it for 4 dinners or lunches. I usually eat the tagine for dinner with some quinoa. It is so comforting and satisfying. I love all the bold flavors that the spices add to it. It stores really well in the fridge and stays fresh for about 5 to 6 days. I actually think it tastes even better after all the ingredients had the time to marinate together. You can also freeze it and store it for up to 2 months. That's why I think it's a great recipe for meal prepping. Another way I eat the tagine is by cutting 1 or 2 sweet potatoes in half and adding the tagine on top. So you're basically creating these lovely sweet potato boats. For my lunches, I'm making a kale Caesar salad. So firstly, I'm washing 2 big bunches of kale. Then I'm laying them out on a towel to dry, and the sun decided to come out and help me. I usually grab a paper towel and dry any big drops that I see, and then I let it dry by itself for about 15 minutes. Meanwhile, I'm going to make my vegan Parmesan cheese. To my food processor, I'm adding half a cup of slivered almonds, 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast, half a teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of garlic powder, and half a teaspoon of onion powder. Then I process everything until ground. You guys have to promise me that you will try this recipe because it's unbelievably good. It tastes very similar to Parmesan cheese. Even my cheese-loving family agrees. You can use it in any recipe that calls for grated Parmesan. I usually store it in a small mason jar in the fridge. It will stay fresh for a couple of months actually, if you can manage to not eat it sooner. I also have a new recipe for a vegan Caesar salad dressing, which should go on your must-try recipe list as well. To make it, I add 1 1/4 cup of water to my blender, juice of 1 lemon, half a cup of olive oil, 1 cup of soaked cashews, which I soaked the night before, 4 to 5 garlic cloves, pepper, salt, and 1 teaspoon of Dijon mustard. Blend until you reach a creamy consistency. You can play around with the amount of water you add to this recipe if you want to change how thick the dressing turns out. Personally, I find that 1 cup of water works perfectly. I store my dressing in a mason jar. It stays fresh in the fridge for about a week. If you're bringing the salad with you on the go, you can divide the dressing between smaller containers. To my kale salad, I'm also adding some raw beets. I love beets. I know some people are not so fond of them, but I find that they are perfect for make-ahead salads because they don't get soggy after being cut and stored for a few days, unlike other veggies. They are high in fiber and vitamin C. They help to fight inflammation, support your body's detoxification process, boost your immune system, and may even help lower your blood pressure. They are truly a nutritional powerhouse. By this time, my kale is pretty much dry, so I set up 4 of my large Fablunch containers, tear the kale leaves into small pieces with my hands, and divide them between the containers. Caesar salad is usually made with lettuce, but I use kale because I find that it keeps crisp the longest out of all of the leafy greens. So again, it's perfect for your make-ahead salads. Plus, kale also has a higher content of vitamins and minerals compared to lettuce. Once I divided all of the kale between the 4 containers, I add the rest of the ingredients. So to each container, I'm adding a few cherry tomatoes, again because they store much better compared to the diced tomatoes, raw beets. Don't they look beautiful? I don't know why people hate on the poor beets. I'm also adding some capers, which add a lovely salty flavor to the salad, pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, and hemp seeds to make the salad more filling. I'm basically making my Caesar salad as nutritiously dense as possible. I love how this salad turns out. It doesn't taste like you're eating something super healthy and bland. It still has those familiar Caesar salad flavors, and it's so good and nourishing for your body. Once I've divided all of the ingredients, I put the containers in the fridge. When I'm ready to eat the salad, I just add some of the vegan Parmesan and the Caesar salad dressing and mix well. This salad tastes absolutely amazing and I really hope you give it a try. Finally, it's time to make my breakfast. I'm making 2 different breakfasts for this meal prep. Breakfast number 1 is a blueberry green smoothie and I'm making 2 portions. Smoothies are already quick to make, but if you meal prep them, it will literally take you less than 2 minutes in the morning. For each portion, I'm dividing the ingredients between 2 containers. One will go in the freezer and one will go in the fridge. So for the freezer portion, I'm peeling 4 ripe bananas and dividing them between 2 medium Fablunch containers. You want to use the bananas that are ripe because they are the sweetest and will make your smoothie really creamy. So you want to make sure that your bananas are covered in spots like this one. To the bananas, I'm adding 1 cup of frozen blueberries. You can of course use fresh blueberries if you want. So the bananas and blueberries are going into the freezer. Next, I prepared the 2 containers that will go into the fridge. I first wash and dry the ingredients and then place them in the containers. So to each container, I'm adding 1 big handful of spinach, 4 leaves of lettuce, which I'm breaking into smaller pieces, 2 celery sticks. I cut them so they are easier to blend. I'm also adding 1 green apple to each of the containers. I wasn't able to get organic apples this time, so I decided to peel them. Finally, I'm just squeezing a little bit of lemon juice on top of the apple slices to keep them from browning. The second half of the smoothie is done. You could technically freeze all of the ingredients together, but I personally prefer freezing only the bananas and blueberries and keeping the rest of the ingredients in the fridge. I like the taste and the consistency of the smoothie when it's made this way. In the morning, when you're ready to have the smoothie, take out 1 container from the fridge and 1 from the freezer. Add 2 cups of water to your blender, then the content of your freezer container, followed by the ingredients from your fridge container. I also add a tablespoon of spirulina to the smoothie, but it's completely optional. Spirulina is an amazing superfood with tons of different benefits, and one of them is that it helps to support your thyroid health. As you guys know, I've been diagnosed with hypothyroidism in September, so I've been adding spirulina to my smoothies regularly. Blend until smooth and your smoothie is ready. Spirulina does make it a funny color, but nevertheless, it tastes amazing. I also wanted to point out that when I make smoothies for breakfast, I make between 6 to 7 cups. I know a lot of people are interested in portion sizes, so 1 portion for me is about 6 cups. That's how much smoothie I drink to feel full and satisfied. And the second breakfast I'm making is a chocolate chia pudding. In a bowl, I'm combining 1.5 cups of almond milk, 1/3 of a cup of chia seeds, 1/4 of a cup of cacao powder, 3 tablespoons of maple syrup, 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla, and a pinch of salt. Then I whisk until well combined and divide the mixture between 2 mason jars. I usually use a ladle to make it easier. I close the containers with a lid and put them in the fridge. I like to top the chia pudding with some fresh berries, so I'm just washing and drying them in advance. After the chia pudding has been in the fridge for at least a day, it has this lovely tapioca-like consistency. So when I'm ready to eat it, I just add the berries that I already washed on top and some shredded coconut. This breakfast is super easy to meal prep and is an incredibly tasty way to start your day. Finally, for another snack, I'm making frozen grapes. All you need to do is wash and dry the grapes and place them on a tray covered with parchment paper. Then you place the tray in the freezer for at least 5 hours until the grapes are frozen. Then I transfer them to a container. I don't put the grapes in the container right away because they stick together, so it's better to first freeze them on a tray. Frozen grapes are one of my favorite snacks. They are super yummy and refreshing and taste like nature's candy. So here are all of the meals that I made for this meal prep. I have 4 breakfasts, 4 lunches, 4 dinners, and 2 different snacks. I could barely fit all of the containers on the table. This meal prep usually takes me under 2 hours to put together, and it feels so satisfying when all of the meals are done because I have so much deliciousness to look forward to for the week to come. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more healthy vegan recipes and maybe more meal prep videos in the future. Huge thanks to Audible for sponsoring today's video. Audible has an unbeatable selection of audiobooks, original audio shows, news, and comedy. My husband and I love Audible. We listen to audiobooks in the car all the time, and I recently started listening to more audiobooks at home as well when I'm cleaning or cooking. It makes the process more enjoyable, and I actually started looking forward to the days when I'm juicing or cooking something for a long time because that means I get to listen to my audiobook. Plus, it makes me feel like I'm being extra productive that day. For the past couple of weeks, weeks I've been listening to a book with a very interesting title. It's called The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F. I've seen a lot of people on YouTube recommend it, and I was very intrigued to find out what it's gonna be about. Well, I have to tell you, I love this book so much. I actually finished listening to it yesterday, but I want to listen to it again. It's full of so many simple yet profound lessons that really make you take a closer look at the way you live your life. I'm the type of person who cares way too much about everything, and it actually causes a lot of stress and anxiety in my life. So I found this book incredibly useful. It also covers topics such as fear and death and fear of death, which I actually struggled with since I was a child, so I cannot recommend this book enough. If you guys haven't tried Audible yet, you can use your 30-day free trial to listen to this awesome book by going to audible.com/Fablunch or by texting Fablunch to 500-500. Or you can choose another book, but I seriously recommend that one. I love you guys. I will see you in my next video. Bye.